Welcome back to the podcast. Hi, everyone. It has been a minute. It is Nina Kovner with Passion Squared, and this is a very special episode today. It just happens to be my 55th birthday. And so I decided that I was going to just do some reflecting and think of the life and business lessons that I've kind of like learned over these 55 years. And while not all of my lessons, some that are of top of mind. And of course, I could not do this episode without my bestie and the beauty industry's bestie, Gordon Miller of Hairbrained. Gordon, thanks for celebrating with us today.
It's your birthday. I don't sing, or I would try it. I wanted to get like the Stevie Wonder thing going, but I couldn't quite get there even for you. But happy 55.
Thank you. You had a birthday not so long ago.
Yeah. So happy 55. 55 is the new 50. But you're still a baby. I actually turned 65. I'll say it out loud.
You did, the lucky fives. And before we dive in, I know there's a lot of folks that are super into astrology. So this, I don't know, may make sense, but Gordon's sun is Leo, his moon is Virgo, and his rising is Scorpio. And interestingly enough, I'm a Libra sun, a Leo moon, and a Scorpio rising. So we share both Leo and Scorpio. I don't know. I'm certainly not qualified to say what that means, except maybe that's one of the reasons we're besties.
Oh, that it kind of scares me, Leo Scorpio, when I hear you say it that way. It's like, get us both together when we have a bad mood on the same day. It's like, oh my.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's dive right in. And this was actually a list I started a while ago, and it just was a total stream of consciousness. And what I want to do is I just want to read some of the things. And I want you to, if there's anyone that speaks to you, Gordon, I would love your wisdom and insight on that as well. And if you have anything to add. So I got to start with be where your feet are. That most definitely is one of the ones that has helped me a lot, just in life. There is power in the pause. Perfectionism is a myth, and so is balance. And yes, this is coming from a Libra. Speaking of Libras, find your rhythm. That's one that I share so often with our clients at Passion Squared and continually remind myself of when things just feel so out of control and feel so nuts. It's a rhythm. And if we can just remember that, some days are going to be awesome and smooth and wonderful, and some days are going to be absolutely nuts. And it is just a rhythm, and your rhythm's going to change, just like the tide, right?
You know, I love a good metaphor, but sometimes I get literal. I can't help but tie the rhythm thing to being where your feet are, and I have no rhythm. and so when I am where my feet are,
that's a good thing. You're grounded.
I'm trying to have rhythm. I have yet to put these two ideas together.
Well, I think it is the metaphorical rhythm, right? It's like the waves, it's like the tides, it's the flow of life. So yeah, but that is well, I mean, I don't know if I have literal rhythm either.
Oh, I've seen it. You've got way more than me.
I'm sure folks that are listening are like, you both don't really have. This one's really important. Cherish folks while they're still here. You know, it's so easy to just kind of get too busy and not really just forget, right? You think that's an age thing?
I think, well, yeah, it becomes, I think we appreciate the idea more because with age, most of us, we begin to lose people. And I think we have those moments of regret. And then again, I think we hear a statement like this and it's like, okay, yep, let's remember this. Life is
Yeah,
short.
it really is. Make time for the shit that matters. And everything
Yes.
doesn't matter equally. Everything's not equal, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I love that you said shit.
Oh, well,
I love the new world. I love the new world we're living in, where all these things. My mother washed my mouth out with soap, literally, the old school. I'm going to wash your mouth out with soap. It would always get said, and then one day she did it. It's like, well, she wasn't kidding. And words like shit were not said easily back in the day. So I kind of
did you cuss as a kid?
Not after I got my mouth washed out with soap. I was one of those, I think, typical. I was a precocious young boy. Does that surprise you?
No.
And so I was one of those kids who like to mimic adults. And so, second, but of course, the first time you hear somebody saying, "Oh shit," you're like, okay, it sounds like a nice emotional kind of statement. It's like, not realizing you might end up with soap in your mouth.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's funny because when I was in first grade, my mom, like the first day of school, my mom went to my teacher. I remember Mrs. Garrett at Colfax Elementary School in North Hollywood, or Studio City, North Hollywood, California. Anyways, she told Miss Garrett, she said, Nina uses some pretty colorful language at home. And she's also very aware that she's not allowed to use those words in front of teachers or grandparents. So if she uses profanity, you have my permission to whatever, discipline her.
No, I'm just imagining this because if it was very specific that you couldn't do this in front of teachers or grandparents or other forms of adults, I could just see you hanging out with the kids on the playground going, okay, let's
trust.
let me share some really good cuss words with you since we're together.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was suspended twice between first and sixth grade. So you can imagine the language and other behaviors. Okay, let's go to the next one. The journey is short and quick, right? Do the inside work as early as you can so you can feel more joy while you're here.
You're much better at that than me.
This one I love, and this was the one that really like inspired me to make the big move to Oregon. Prioritize your someday I'll ... Right? Someday I'll go on a trip. Someday I'll move to someday. The some days are not promised. I love that one. Real confidence comes with self-awareness and experience.
That's a big one. Real confidence matters a lot.
What does real confidence mean to you?
To me, it's not having, I think it's complicated. It's not having those nagging doubts. I think that we're kind of all, I don't know if we're born with it, but it kind of, I think early in our lives, that's one thing that can follow us around as we learn things or not learn things. And I think when we get to a place where we've got the wisdom, the knowledge, the skills, where we've done things where we can understand when we've done something right, I think it's a loss of self-doubt, maybe top of my list.
Yeah.
Self-criticism, self-loathing, all these bad self things that keep us from getting to where we could be.
Yeah. Okay, the next one. People are complicated.
A little bit.
That one helps me a lot because I feel like it in all of us, we have this just burning desire to like make sense of things, and some things just don't fucking make sense. And that includes people.
In the last, we'll just use the most recent 18 months as an example. I think we are learning this lesson well. I don't know what we do with it, but we've learned it well.
Yeah. Okay, the next one. Allow others to have their own experience. Okay. Give yourself and others grace.
Very important.
What does that mean? How do you take that one?
Oh gosh. I think it's giving people room
Mm,
to be themselves and to make mistakes and to not quite be so judgmental,
yeah.
which we're so apt to do as humans.
Especially now, it seems, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Love is the foundation, and compassion and empathy are the walls.
Mm.
I know you have nothing to say on
I'm building a house in my mind right now. I'm like I'm trying to figure where the stairs go.
I'm the Libra in the relationship. That is very clear. Okay. The next one. Some days, weeks, months, years, and decades are going to be rough.
Mm.
Hold on. Release the resentment, yet hold on to the lesson.
Mm.
Compassionately honest has more positive influence and impact than brutally honest.
Yeah, that's actually a really big idea, especially for people who are managing or leading other people, at least in their work life.
I there's a book, it may be Brene Brown's Dare to Lead, that talks about this brutally honest idea. And people, people are like, I don't know, it's just me. I'm just brutally honest. And it's just, you think about that. You think about the word brutal.
Brutally, yeah.
And it's like, okay, hold on. We can be honest and still be honest with love, compassion, empathy, kindness, all of those things.
Well, and when you're brutal or just a little bit over the top, perhaps in the wrong direction, the value of your honesty disappears.
Mm. Ooh, I like that. The value of your honesty. That's powerful. Okay, the next one. Never stop caring. It's so easy to just want to give up and not care in certain situations. I am of the camp that we never stop caring. Integrity can get lonely at times. Have integrity anyways. Remind yourself often why you get up in the morning.
Walk the dog. It's like there's a list. I'm just trying to prioritize here.
And that one really is one that I've had to use often in my journey with depression. Of course, you're talking literal because of course you are. Get up, make espresso, coffee, walk the dog. Mine is, why am I literally right?
Purpose, right? About purpose.
Yeah. Okay. The next one, you are worthy of feeling joy.
I would dance around to that one, but I'm just not that guy.
I know you're not.
Yeah, but I do dance inside. I'm not maybe moving, but my inside, I feel like I am.
But I spent, I spent many decades of my life and in working with folks, for decades and obviously having this real passion around mental health and wellness. There's so much to us just not feeling worthy. And you spoke worthy just a few points up. And you're talking about feeling, worthy. Like, we have to believe that. Like, I'm worthy of feeling good or feeling joy or feeling whatever. Okay. Listen more than you talk.
I struggle with this one just a tad.
Really? Gosh, I really see you as an incredible listener.
When I'm not talking.
That's interesting. It's fascinating how we see ourselves versus how other folks see us, Okay, the next one. You can be humble and also confident.
Yes. We need more of that, by the way.
Okay, the next one. Blaming and shaming affects your own self-esteem. Like, it's so easy to point the finger, and it's so easy to, like you spoke of judgment earlier. There's these things, especially on the internet, blaming and shaming, but what we don't feel good about it. even on the surface we may think we do, it definitely has not a great impact on our own self-esteem.
But weirdly, in recent times, I feel like blaming and that people of people with an audience, whether it's a small audience or a big audience, under too many circumstances, the crowd, if you will, online and offline, applaud the blaming and shaming. They witness it and they encourage it and they applaud it, which feels somewhat new in my lifetime.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel that. Okay. Speaking of, try to stay out of judgment. And when you go there, ask yourself why.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big one for me. Because I understand judgment so well in terms of what it means for our own, in
Mm-hmm.
our own like world and psychology and all of that. And really just taking a step back, being where your feet are, and taking, there's power in the pause,
Mm-hmm.
and saying, why am I feeling so judgmental about this? What's going on with me? What's the deeper cause? Okay, the next one, which is like literally, again, a Libra favorite, lead with love.
Definitely one of your favorites.
I don't think you can ever go wrong leading with love. And that doesn't mean you don't have healthy boundaries. It doesn't mean you don't stick to agreements. It doesn't mean it, just love. Love is the foundation, right? Okay, the next one, healthy boundaries build confidence and save a fuck ton of time and angst. Okay. Next one. If you're angry, take a time out, go within and sort it out. That kind of rhymes.
Say that one again.
If you're angry, take a time out, go within and sort it out. Oh my God. It's
yes, it totally does. You could almost wrap it.
No, I could not. And you cannot. And we will not.
We will not. I wouldn't even try, but
that will never happen.
Interesting one though.
So much projection with anger, right? And we don't want to throw that up on anybody else. It's our own stuff. Okay. The next one. Most folks are scared.
Gosh, there's so much truth. And again, the current world, look, we've been surrounded by, I think, expressions of fear on all sides of everything. It's just become like a norm.
And we don't know what to do with it, right?
Right. We're in a weird place with fear at kind of all levels of life, whether it's in our, close to us personal stuff or political stuff or cultural stuff, or it's a little bit out of control.
Yeah. Business.
Business for sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. The next one. You don't know everything and you never will.
But you can get close.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. No, that's the great thing about life, I think. One of the greater things about life and why I love education so much and why I am a curious person and I like, experiencing certain types of new things, especially in my brain. But I mean, just continuing to always know there's something new to learn, just to me makes it easier to get through life.
Totally. And I feel like it's like it takes the pressure off.
It does. You're right. Because we're not supposed to know everything.
Wait a minute. I don't have to know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's so liberating to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next one. It's okay to say, I don't know. I feel like because of, esteem, confidence, kind of some of the things we talked about before, we want so desperately to have the answer. Mm-hmm. And the truth is, we don't always have the answer, and it's perfectly okay not to have the answer. And it's okay to say, you know what? I don't know.
Especially if you're sometimes do what we used to do before COVID, and when you're in front of a group of people, when you're in front of 200 people and someone raises their hand and asks a question, and you're like, I have no effing clue. Some of us feel desperate to answer the question. And we've been in rooms where we've heard people sharing information, and I don't know, there's a natural, I don't know what our brains do sometimes, but I think it's really freeing to be able to say, I don't know.
Right. I don't, well, and I do this today, coaching our
Mhm,
clients.
mhm. Yeah.
You know what? I don't know, but I am gonna dig deeper and find a resource for you that does
Mhm.
know.
And it connects back to honesty and,
Mm, and
in a very
integrity.
and integrity in a very big way.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Okay. The next one. People will break your heart. Don't let it harden you.
Mm.
Okay. Tell people you love them often.
You got one of those. Yeah, that's one of those ones that I don't know that I struggle with it. I grew up in a family where we really didn't do that, but I do it, from time to time now with family, and it makes me feel good. But I do it almost every day with my dog Cody. So does that count?
Yes, it
Okay, good.
totally counts.
Yay! Give me a couple points.
Yeah. Tell people and animals you love them
Mhm.
often. Okay. The next one. You are not broken. You are a perfectly imperfect human.
Mhm.
I learned that in early recovery.
Mhm.
This one comes from my dad. You can't unring a bell.
Mm.
Think before you speak.
Mm. That is huge on so many levels.
Yeah. Okay. The next one. Self awareness comes with desire, curiosity, and time.
Especially time. Especially time. And the amount of time varies by person. Some people just seem to never get there. Some people get there pretty quick, but it's a journey.
It is a journey. Okay. The next one. Stop waiting for the apology. It will likely never come.
Hmm.
I think that's one we can all relate to. And when we can release that, just this intense need for that person
Mhm.
to own their harm. It just, you know, that like makes them have power over us,
Mhm.
and that again, this is life and business. If somebody leaves the salon, they leave not in a good way. We wait for this apology. It's just a lot of energy wasted.
I think apologies are kind of, I don't want to say they're silly, but I don't count on them much. I'm more interested in that person's behavior. So if something is out of whack in the relationship and something happens that I feel like I deserve an apology, my brain, like, I don't know why it is this way, but it's like I'm not needing an apology. I'm needing to see proof that whatever it was that resulted in that need to maybe apologize has changed. That's what matters to me.
Change behavior.
Mhm.
Okay. We were just talking about this one yesterday. Do the work upstream and spend less time fixing shit downstream.
We were.
So you had another one that was similar to that. Oh, it was the
Yeah,
wood.
remind me.
It was the wood, the chopping wood one.
Oh
Measure.
no, it was
What was
measure twice, cut
cut
once,
once?
which is
Right.
like more like the tailor in the fabric
Oh,
thing,
okay.
which I think metaphorically has no connection whatsoever to what to what you're talking about.
I think it does
Does
completely.
it?
Yeah,
Oh.
because it's kind of like, I'm going to save money on this website, and then you end up spending 4 times as much because you
Mhm.
didn't do the work upstream. You didn't do all the things that needed to be done to get that done efficiently, and so you have to fix a bunch of shit
You
downstream.
didn't prepare, so the
Right.
tailor has to measure twice. So
Measure
again, he
twice,
doesn't.
cut once. Yeah. Okay. The next one. It's almost never about you.
Ugh. So again, with age, yep.
To me, that's such an empowering, liberating one because it's like, well, the next one is humans are inherently selfish. The thing is, we are self-centered
Oh my
as
God.
just our nature, right? Our collective nature. And so we almost like have this reflex or this response or reaction to literally, oh my God, they're talking about me, or oh my God, they hate me, or oh my God, I did something wrong, or oh my God, I have food in my teeth, or oh my God, they're like, and it's almost never about you people's behavior, right? Because they're all focused on themselves.
Now, what was the phrase again?
It's almost never about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The next one is like, as I said, humans are inherently selfish.
My brain already, I was hanging out there. That's why I had to ask.
Oh,
that.
humans are inherently selfish.
Now I have, to some of your audience who will get it, and I know you've not seen this, but I would say 2 words: Squid Games.
Oh, yeah.
And anybody who has seen it knows what I'm talking about. So, as far as a reinforcement to this very big.
Do we need to explain why I
just-
haven't watched it?
Well, we can start with violence. It's extremely violent, and and I'm not one for violence. I don't like bloody movies. But I love Squid Games.
But
much.
you watch the scary stuff. Gordon watches stuff, and then he
Yeah.
says, Nina, you're not going to want to watch this. Or he
Right.
says, you can watch this because there's only X, Y, and Z,
Right.
and it's okay because I can't do
No.
like trauma, violence, stuff like that.
And I don't do it well. So I do this 5-year-old girl look through your fingers at the screen. like literally, I'm describing my behavior when the blood starts coming. I literally, if I'm loving the rest of what's happening, I do the hand in front of the face and I peek through one finger just to see if the red's disappearing, and then I move on to the next
Oh my God.
one.
Okay. The next one is be generous with your gifts.
Yes.
Okay. The next one, your journey is yours to travel. Design it accordingly. Not everyone is going to understand you.
Ooh. That's a big one. That's an important one.
Yeah. It really is. What does that mean to you? Not everyone is going to understand you.
Well, I think there's a lot of pressure, period, in the world to fit in, quote unquote. And I think when we sometimes feel we don't fit in, a lot of times we also then feel misunderstood. And I feel like it's okay to not fit in. and therefore it's okay to be misunderstood. And I don't need to lose my self-esteem over the idea that some people don't get me. That's what it means to me.
Love that. Did you always believe that? Did that come with time and
Yes.
age? And
It came very early for me. And it had to do with my gayness and my when I really became aware as a fairly young child, probably 5, 6, 7 years old, that I was gay. And I don't know, I somehow internalized this idea that I was different, but I had enough self-esteem even as a child. And I think I had enough good reinforcement from within my family about who I was as a human, that I was like, okay, I got this. So whatever these people were feeling, I got this.
I love that. That explains a lot about you and your journey, actually. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, the next one. Some people are mean. Be kind.
Just
some. Be kind.
Can we change that to many?
Be kind anyway. I don't know if many. I think some people are mean.
Actually, let me say it a different way. Too many.
But
which is different than too many is different than many and different than some. So
oh my God. But the point of this one is, but stay kind anyways.
Right.
Be kind anyway. Like just because they're mean doesn't mean we have to harden and get mean and
exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. The next one. Life is hard. Business is hard. It's all fucking hard. Managing our own expectations is the hardest.
So that's it. Again, that's a big one. And that goes to one of our favorite words to me, which is context. Because context, I think, has a lot to do with managing our expectations. And when we lack context, our expectations sometimes can be out of whack with reality.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. Okay. You have no control over experiences outside of yourself. Focus on what you can control. And that's you. Right? Daily gratitude. Oh, now we're already at 50.
Wow.
I
We
know.
are racing. I
I
love it.
know.
Well, I don't love it. I don't want it to be over, but I'm amazed.
Well, I don't want it to be over. And it's not.
The last five are hard.
No, they're not. Daily gratitude lists help us with perspective. You can be grateful and also sad, angry, and depressed.
Mhm.
Both can be true.
Yep.
There's this thing that I learned early in recovery about, extreme thinking, living in the extremes, everything being black and white. And the truth is, nothing's black and white.
Mhm.
It just isn't. And so it's not this or that. It's like both can exist. I can dig deep for gratitude even when shit is completely
Mhm.
messy. And that speaks a lot to my last 2 years.
Well, and that also, I think, speaks to people like me who love like math and love science. And I mean, there's certain parts of life that are outside of like of our being that are very black and white. Like I love math because it's very black and white, and that's not life. It's very different than life. But I can see why some people it's a little bit of a refuge, so from life, which is not black and white. But I think it explains some of us and why we're drawn to those things.
Yeah. I was taught to live in the gray. It's very hard to do.
Mhm.
Okay. The next one. This is, obviously I love all of these, but this one's been served me very well in my life. Do everything possible to retain a beginner's mind.
Mhm.
What does that mean to you, beginner's mind?
Well, open to everything, I think, most importantly. Is that feels very Stephen Covey-ish.
Let me see. That's
I don't
what
know
Google's
why.
for.
Yeah, I don't know why it feels that way, but
It's very
because
possible. That was a book that I read in my early 20s, I think.
that was a while ago. 7 Habits of
Highly effective people.
Yeah, it's a classic. There's so much good. Even if you just see the list, just see the habits.
Beginner's mind. There's a quote. There's like a Zen. It's a Zen thing. You know what I mean? That's where it originated.
Yeah.
A Zen thing. I just created. I will completely not say this name right. Shunryu Suzuki quotes in a book called Zen Mind Beginner's Mind. And the quote that came up when I Googled is these are all, this is good. Okay, if your mind is empty, it is always ready for anything. It is open to everything. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few.
Interesting.
I love that. I'm going to read that one again. If your mind is empty, it is always ready for anything. It is open to everything. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's mind, there are few.
That's very profound. Now, can I very quickly, because I think it fits so well into what you're doing, can I read the 7 habits really fast?
Yeah.
Because I got the list. I Googled too. So number 1, be proactive. Number 2, begin with the end in mind. Number 3, put first things first. And that is all about under the topic of being independent or the idea of independence. And then he talks about interdependence. Think win-win. Seek first to understand, then to be understood.
That's
so
like
powerful.
My favorite.
Yeah. Then number 6 is to synergize. And again, that's interdependence. And then the last habit and the last kind of chunk of topics is continual improvement. And he calls it sharpen the saw.
Yeah.
Such a classic and such a profound list.
It is. It's on our A School recommended media list to this day. Seek first to understand, then to be understood is not actually not on this list, but it really is one that I use so often. Because it could be literally like being reactive to a Yelp review.
Mm-hmm.
Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Dealing with a trouble team member. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Dealing with a shitty client. Dealing with listening, just whatever,
Being very literal again, you're in a foreign country and wanting to ask something, say something. You don't speak the same language, and you begin to communicate. You kind of have to begin to understand the other person before you just throw your stuff on them. That's very literal. Of course, that's where my brain goes.
I love your literal brain. Okay, your purpose and value are not tied to your productivity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, there's this thing that like came about in the last, 10 plus years, this whole hustle culture and
the grind.
Right. Which is ridiculous. But also even back in the olden days when we were coming up in the world, pre-internet, pre-socials, productivity. It was always about productivity.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much that was ingrained in folks about value and worth and purpose tied to how many things can I do. And as a leader back in the day when I led a team, I was very clear with our folks that I'm looking for the outcome, right? I'm looking for the result, not the actual, like, I guess it's like the minutia, the micromanaging, the quote unquote productivity, like just get it fucking done.
Well, and there's also, I think, this kind of American idea, Seth Godin talks about this a lot on different topics. And that is like modern America, is kind of built coming out of World War II. And, the modern business models, very much, came out of that. So the factory, the idea of factories, the idea of these big companies with desk after desk after desk, whether it's the giant retailers like Sears and Montgomery Ward, these giant buildings, but, in pre-cube, they might have had cubicles too back then. But, that kind of idea. And then agriculture, same thing. But all of those things are about bean counting, right? And how many pounds of this came off the earth this day by I think that culture, kind of dehumanized, employees completely. And people. And we're left over with this way of thinking about work and life that came out of a time that's not here anymore. And we haven't adjusted ourselves because it was so ingrained in how Americans think about work and business.
Right. And even the way, that, with salon stuff, numbers, and, do this and that, and these bottles. And then it's like, wait, we've completely lost the intention and purpose of, retail's a great example. Like you need to sell 20 bottles. It's like, wait, what? How about what's really important in our salon is that clients feel seen, heard, and cared for. One of the ways we do that is we spend time designing a customized home care routine for them.
And it's okay to do both in a sense that, again, as leaders or management, there's a part of business where counting the beans is important.
Yeah, but that's not the purpose.
No, it's not the purpose. No. And I'm just saying both can exist, but they shouldn't connect often in the way they're connected now. Like bean counting becomes the end all be all, whereas really it's the behavior and what you're, and going back to your vision and values and all of that. And the bean counting should be off on the side, and then.
Yeah, I'm all measurement's important, but it's not the purpose.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
It's not the purpose.
It's actually a way to translate what's happened into some understanding of where you are versus where you hope to be. It's a tool.
Right. Exactly. Okay. Slow down enough to catch the magical moments. I think you do that like when you're walking, Cody.
Very much. Yeah, very much. That's my time. 4 times a day, I kind of try to get a little bit outside of myself by being outside with Cody and just letting go of whatever I would normally be thinking about, which is typically a lot. for whatever reason.
And you see bunnies and you see birds
And
and cats
flowers
and flowers
and I take pictures for no reason except to see those things, like
and to
very
send them
rarely.
to me and to
I
send them to me.
if I get a really good one, but the purpose of taking pictures, which much longer story behind that, was kind of a way for me to escape some stuff, and it stuck with me as a great habit. If I want to shut my mind down, I just take a walk and take some pictures, and it just takes me somewhere else.
I love that. And same, like since I moved to Oregon, it's like there's squirrels everywhere and
Mm-hmm.
there's different birds and there's like one area I lived in, there were wild turkeys and deer. And I love it. I love being outside and like looking at all the little animals. And then there's moss. There's a lot of moss that grows and I just love it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like literally looking at the moss on the tree and now the leaves are changing and the landscape change. I mean, literally stuff that is so powerful if we slow down enough. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Go.
have to add to that though,
Yes.
because I'm the person who doesn't care about those things, even in spite of what I just said. So my brain just does not get excited about a walk in the woods, or even walking down the street and seeing the bunny. And we've got bunnies everywhere in Chicago this year. But going back to what we said about my way of doing, and I learned this, and it took me a while to figure out what I was doing. It's actually the act of looking at what we see every day differently. So I've seen bunnies since I was a kid. They don't really excite. Flower, tree, name it all. I hate to say that in the moment, as I'm wandering through my life, I'm not that excited about those things, or they don't distract me from whatever's in my head. It's that picking up a camera or a phone and looking through it at the subject and seeing it in a whole different way, whether it's seeing it close up or whether it's seeing a part of it or seeing the shapes differently. And then I take the picture, and I don't even look at the picture. It was that moment of looking at something differently that takes me out of the moment. And I've learned to just love it.
I love that. I love that.
And I think maybe the bigger point there is I stumbled on that by accident. And so I didn't have a really good way to get out of my own head until I stumbled upon that by accident. And I think the lesson to me was that there are things that can get us out of our own heads, but sometimes we have to really try a little harder to find what the process might be.
That's a good one. Okay, we're at number 55.
Ooh, I wish I had a sound thing. Drum roll.
All folks really want is to be seen, heard, and loved. And that's not hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that for me, like as I've leveled up in age, simplicity is definitely at the forefront of everything that I do. We've both simplified quite a bit over time and very similar, paths we've both traveled. But I feel that we collectively continue to overcomplicate shit. And that creates more stress and, more anxiety and all of that. And I'm really grateful that I did make the decision and that I did have the resources and privilege and mindset and support at the time to make the decision 10 years ago at 45 to simplify. So I could really focus on folks being seen, heard, and loved. Because it wasn't always like that. Like I've always been me. I mean, you've known me a long time. I've always been me. I've always been full of love. I've always had many of these philosophies and thoughts and wisdoms and lessons I've been taught, lessons I've learned, whatever, experienced. A lot of these are inherently in my DNA, but I was not present as a workaholic. I was busy, right? And we miss so much. And I'm grateful. And I know that everybody has their own journeys and their own experiences. This one to me is in order to ensure folks feel seen, heard, and loved, we have got to slow the fuck down.
It's tricky. I mean, we all think of it differently. I'll use another show, a streaming show, if you will. I won't say anything because I don't want to spoil it for you, especially on your birthday. But Ted Lasso.
I'm not caught up. I'm not caught up.
I've just said I'm not
Okay.
I'm not giving anything away.
Okay.
But this topic, to really get a
Thank
great
you.
understanding of this topic, I watched the latest one last night, and that is the topic. And Ted Lasso is such a great show, and they do such a great spin on it, because what it said to me was, that because we are different, we don't always think about this in the same way. So it's easy for somebody to think, I'm seeing you, I'm hearing you, I'm loving you, and for the other person to totally not get it. And then when you start digging into the behaviors on both sides, you can still not get it. It's so interesting. And then even the need for it, how we're all so different. I always feel like I don't really need a lot of those things, but I also think, when I think about that's a little bit of the Leo in me, because I already kind of deep down assume that I have it all.
Yeah, and exactly. And as your bestie, I see right through that. That plaid, that beautiful plaid shirt.
Even if you couldn't see me, you would have guessed properly if you had said plaid. And you can see me right now.
And I think that's the thing, is I think just believing that, regardless, again, let people have their own experiences. You know what I mean? We can only control ourselves, not others. With all of those things and all of those truths and all of those lessons, at the core, at the root core, even the most cruel, mean people, if you peel all those layers away, that's what we need. And that helps me not completely go off the deep end when people are behaving in such a destructive, hurtful way.
Well, this, I think, is one of the big conversations in the country right now, is about social media and the impact, especially it's having on young people, and children. And I think there's a connection to this idea, because I think for a lot of young people, it's very, what's the measuring stick of being seen? What's the measuring stick of being heard? By how many? By, how big is that feeling? And I think for a lot of young people, they're looking at someone else going, that's what being heard and being seen means, the applause, perhaps. So whatever the heck it is, it doesn't have to be big. But I do think, because everything is so public now, it's easy to feel not seen or heard, because of what you understand through the examples of somebody who just is in a different place in life.
Yeah.
It's not the same. It's not the same for everybody.
And I think that's such a good point. And I think it's really important, particularly as a leader, or as being in a relationship, friendship, relationship, whatever, family, is asking folks,
Some people don't want to be publicly praised. Some people desire immensely to be publicly praised. It doesn't mean you don't want, both people want praise, but they want it in a different way. Some people want to be, again, heard in a certain way, perhaps one-on-one in a deep conversation, and somebody else with the same ideas that they want to share, just need it delivered in a different way or accepted in a different way. There's no one size fits all in any of this. It's really complicated.
Yeah.
It's a great number, 55.
Thank you. So before we sign off, there's a few, I usually do a fundraiser personally for my birthday, and I've got a few charities that I want to shout out, and I'm going to ask you, because I know you have a couple that are close to you. If anyone feels charitable, if anyone wants to make donations or learn more about these organizations, they can all be found on Instagram or Facebook or Google. I'll also put the links in the show notes. So for me, the ones that are close to my heart and ones that we support at Passion Squared are the Black Trans Travel Fund, the Marsha P. Johnson Foundation, the Trevor Project, and for Mama Kovner, best friend's animal society,
Mm.
and for my dear, sweet friend and client who we just lost recently, Pamela, the Salt River Wild Horse Management Group. Again, I'll put these in the show notes and you can find them on Instagram, Facebook, Google. Gordon, you want to share a few of yours?
Sure. Well, always on my list would be the Trevor Project. So we share that one. Encourage everybody. PFLAG, parents and friends of, I think it's still PFLAG, parents and friends of lesbians and gays, which is kind of old school. Reminds me of the NAACP a little bit in terms of old school, acronym, but it's so iconic. I think it's powerful not to change it, but it's a really powerful organization. Anything that supports animals. Here in Chicago, we have PAWS, which is where my beautiful girl Cody came from. And then also more generally, my most important personal charity is my local food pantry, my neighborhood food pantry, which takes care of people who are food distressed in my neighborhood. And there's organizations like this literally all over the country, and they've never been so stressed out, and they need help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Gordon, thank you for celebrating.
Happy birthday,
starting 55 on a high note.
Mm-hmm.
And to everyone that's listening, thank you for listening. Thank you for your continued love, support, and trust of both myself, Passion Squared, Gordon Miller, and Hairbrained. Gordon, where can we find you on the socials?
You can find me really on Instagram personally. So it's GORDN as in Nancy, which I occasionally go by, M Mary.
Did you say Nancy?
Well, I'm trying to give, GORDN, and sometimes it's hard to pronounce. So N as in Nancy, M as in Mary.
Oh my God.
And and then Hairbrained _official, of course, is and Hairbrained, kind of everywhere.
Thank you for that. And you can find us at Passion Squared on the gram, Passion Squared on Facebook, passionsquared.net on the web.
Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Do you hear music? Do you hear a little bit of music coming?
Yeah.
Wait. A long intro. Okay, wait.
Are you playing a birthday song?
Yeah, trying. Stevie, come on. Stevie Wonder. Come on, Stevie.
Thank you.
Almost. Wait. Yes.
Oh my God.
So sorry. Happy birthday,
no,
Nina.
That's okay. Thank you. I am going to close this special birthday episode with one of my favorite quotes, and the quote that saved my life back in 2007, because I can't celebrate a birthday without thinking about the fact that I almost didn't have any more birthdays. This is a quote that I have tattooed on my arm. If you've been following Passion Square for a while, or myself, this is very familiar to you. It is by Melody Beattie. Gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, and confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, and a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. Gordon, thank you so much for joining us. I love you.
And I love you. And I have so much gratitude for you and for our relationship and for what you do for the world. So happy birthday.
Thank you. And to everyone that's listening, thank you so much for listening. Have an awesome day wherever you are. We love you. Bye.
Bye.